Attention, boys and girls.
Yes, Mr. Teacher?
Yes. Well, before we start the meeting, I'd like to say that we are honored today to be clerked by the effervescent, ebullient, entertaining David Sarsfield, who is celebrating the anniversary of his birth. No, birthday is the day you're born.
You're not guessing, you wait.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday, David.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's have a roll call.
It's going down a page.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the greeting. So, Councillor Dodick,
Present,
Deputy Mayor Carlson,
in the building.
Just, run for coffee.
Councillor Carlson,
I'm here.
Councillor Palladino.
Present.
So we have quorum of the members of council. In addition, we have Councillor Middleton Hope and Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Okay, so I call the meeting to order and read out the acknowledgement statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The City of Lethbridge offers respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home. I have a resolution signed by Councillor Crowson, adoption of agenda. Item 3, be it resolved that the agenda of the regular meeting of the Audit Standing Policy Committee on July 17, 2024 be adopted as presented. Are there any questions other than the question? Who are you saying it to? Oh. Did I say signed? Oh, I might have a resolution signed by. You're right. Resolution moved by.
I'll call a question.
Question been called. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. We have a consent agenda moved by Councillor Palladino. 4.0. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Audit Standing Policy Committee meeting held on April 3, 2023 be approved and that the chair and city clerk designate be authorized to sign the same. And further be resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee receive for information the July 17, 2024 status of initiatives. Councillor Palladino.
Thank you. If there are no questions or additions to that, I would move adoption.
The question been called. All in favor? Is Councillor Palladino on this committee? Oh, okay. Thank you.
If I'm not here.
Oh. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, we now move to submissions. Item 6.1 is a submission from Daryl Matthews, Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, Council Policy Priorities Updates for third quarter 2024 Audit SPC. Are there any questions of Mr. Matthews? I'm waiting until there is one. Okay, since there's no question, there's a resolution moved by Councillor Crowson, Council Policy Priorities Updates for Q3 2024 Audit SPC. Be it resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee recommend the City Council reaffirm Council Policy on Investments CC 44.
I think the reason you had no questions is we went through this very thoroughly when changes were made in the last term of council and spent a lot of time on this policy because we were in a time of a lot of changing financial situations and conditions at that time. So it was thoroughly reviewed in the last term of council. I expect all of my colleagues read it through and looked at it. It has, the risks have been well maintained or well taken care of and contained in this policy to ensure our investment policies are suitable for what we're doing. So I hope my colleagues will support this.
I'm assuming that the policy does not allow for asset-backed commercial paper to be purchased or any security of such a nature. No, I know it was changed. Okay, I was just kidding about that. I know it's not in there. Okay. Question's been called. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried by the members of the Audit SPC. All right. Item 6.2, we have a submission. Where's my copy? Oh, that's mine. Mr. Matthews, Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, Refinancial Services Administrative Policies Update for Audit SPC. Any questions on that item?
I'm flashing.
I see. Oh. Oh, there they are. Can see it. I can. Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Councillor Dodig. Just one quick question. I noticed some of the policies were new. I think it was, I can't remember the title, Corporate Food and Beverage Policy, something like that. I noticed that cannabis has not been included in any of these. I'm just curious, somebody crafty could say, well, it's not included. We're all going to have cannabis beverages for lunch. Just curious if those types of things need to be included.
No.
So, to Deputy Mayor Carlson, in regards to that, that is pieces that People and Partner Services are currently looking at. So that policy is part of the alcohol. I can't remember the title of it here, but it's an alcohol policy that was there in past that's been reviewed to be looked at in a broader scope. So we already have procedures and so forth in place. However, that policy is coming up in the next number of governance meetings that one will go to. You do.
Just guidelines.
Councillor Crowson.
As Deputy Mayor noted, there are some new ones. It's always interesting the reason behind new ones. Did we see any issues, or is this just good policy management? Was there a purpose for why you created some of them? I'm thinking the resource hedging and ones like that. Yeah. Is there something we should be aware of, or is it just time for these?
Thank you, Councillor Crowson. So a couple of different things on this. So food and beverage expense policy is something that, these are all good governance, is something that our current city manager, and he said I could blame him on this one, was looking at and wanting to have some more clear direction and so forth, and things that he's seen in other municipalities. So that one's a fairly new one here on it as well. So that puts in some very specific things when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate to do that in the administration side. When it comes to things like our resource hedging, that's actually one here where we're taking a broader look at. So we're actually looking at our audit committee members would remember the last term of council that we came with our diesel hedging strategy. Well, this is not only diesel hedging, but it's also looking at our natural gas, our electricity. Not that we don't do it today, but it's actually putting a policy of how we do it today in place. So some really good governance pieces that are getting put in place.
To follow up on that, wonderful to have policies. How are you going to educate all of our staff? Because some of these are very specific to certain departments. Some of these are universal across the entire corporation. So what's the educational intention of these?
So excellent question, Councillor Crowson. So depending on the risk level on the policies, there's different aspects. So some of them are actually like cybersecurity policy and components. In fact, you guys will see a message coming out from myself on that. We do annual pieces where we get people to do training. We do attestations that they've taken the training, so we can close that off throughout the corporation. Some of the other ones like food and beverage and so forth, how we train on those is we provide and we go around and we actually have meetings with the general managers, and it goes down to, through that rank. So we don't necessarily do the same level of risk level on those ones that we may do on the training as, say, cybersecurity, or when we look at our code of ethical conduct or fraud policies and that kind of aspect.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Non-SPC member but interested, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Yes, I have an interest that follows up on member Councillor Croson's question. With regards to remote access, certainly looking at this from a member of council, what training will council be getting on the remote access since we are accessing remotely?
Yeah, that's again, another great question here on this one. So a couple pieces on this. When it comes to the cybersecurity piece, you'll see just in the next, well, literally today, if I get a chance to put it out there on the email, an email coming out on cybersecurity, which ties into some of the aspects on remote access as well, about how to your training and so forth on using electronic systems. And we also offer where we'll come around, and for those members of council that would like some help to understand and walk through it, we'll actually have somebody that will work with you on that. Remote access, the procedures in remote access. Here again, what some of this piece is how the data is being used and so forth of systems under our IT kind of components. Same kind of idea. What we can work on is actually have staff available to be able to help you to understand how you should do it, and if you have any questions on your setup.
Yeah, and especially I think identifying vulnerabilities within our own home systems if we are accessing through our home systems. I think that would be helpful.
Yes, and part of I'll take that back and talk to Mr. Schultz on our team and see what we can do there, and how far obviously we can go. There's some things we can do, we can't do in that regard, but some general criteria, and it's similar to what we say in staff. When you're traveling, be very, very careful to open Wi-Fi systems. It's better to use your hotspot on your cell phone, that kind of thing, those kind of components. But even for your home, there might be some general pieces there that Mr. Schultz can provide. So I will take that back as well and have some conversations with him.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Croson?
Last question, unless I think of another one. Any more coming down the pike? Is there anything else you're seeing that you look at our, financial services and you're like, we haven't had a chance yet, but this is an area of concern we need to create a policy around?
So one of the things that we'll be working on I talked about bringing back two things really. One is Councillor Milton Hope had asked them, and last year we had done a report on BAUs and life cycles and the policy. So that's coming down the pipe, that component. The other thing that we're going to be working on as well is also reserves. So I guess really the bigger thing I would suggest here on policy fronts, and I know Mr. Brierley and myself have been chatting about this, is the long-range financial planning components. So one of the things we'd like to bring to Audit Committee is some of the things that Council has had for generations, but we don't really have them. We have them in a practice, a principle, but not necessarily in a policy. So not using one-time dollars and ongoing things, not, those general policy components, that's one example. That's not all, necessarily all of them, but that I would like to see a bit more in a long-range financial planning piece that helps us guide us our documentation as we go through. Council can always make a decision whether that works for them or not on a policy, but just the general aspects, and it's not a guideline, it's actually a true council policy. And
to follow up on that, will that be prepared in time for it to be part of orientation for whomever the next council is? Because that would be incredibly valuable.
We are going to try to achieve some of it. I can't say all of it will be there. There's some of them that are some larger components, like for example, as we start going through on asset management, some of the asset management policies will be there, but you can even take it further in asset management about the amount of funding and so forth that you'd earmark towards that instead of other pieces. That probably won't be necessarily there. I think there's some lot of work with council to understand how that would work through. Just an example, top of my head. But our intention is to try to bring some of this in so we have it there as those guiding principles for the next budget cycles as we go through.
Councillor Middleton Hope?
Yeah, exactly. Further to that question by Councillor Croson, Mr. Matthews, would you characterize this process then as freeing up funds that might be otherwise allocated or reallocating additional funds by going through this process of examination?
Thank you, Councillor Milton Hope. So Maybe. And the reason I'll say maybe on that there, we were chatting this morning about reserves. So as council members know, we have a number of different reserves that have small dollar values in it or may not have been used for a long period of time. We need some time to take a look at those reserves and give recommendations to council that could free up funding. Or it could allocate more funding into an area. So one of the things that came top to mind, just as an idea point, was when we talked about things like SEPTED and some of the other programs out there. Last budget cycle, council had grouped together a number of different pieces from various different reserves and put them into the downtown, what was it called, the downtown redevelopment initiative, fund or initiative, but they were really across the whole piece, whereas what council could do is actually redesignate or create a reserve that's for that, fund pieces of that, or we move, or not, and then that gets moved back to the MRSR, some of the other items. So there's a bunch of stuff that we're contemplating and talking about of doing, and so anyways, so that's some of the things that could have. So is it really freeing up dollars? Might. So what if council made decisions that you know, on their limits currently right now under the MRSR is 50% of the surpluses can be used next time on one-time initiatives. Council can make a decision to lower or increase that, and that depending on what you do there, that also would either free up or commit more dollars to it.
Thank you.
I see there's no more questions, so I have a resolution moved by Councillor Palladino, Financial Services Administration Policies Update for Audit SPC 6.2. Be it resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee recommend that City Council accept the update on financial services administrative policies as information. Councillor Palladino.
Well, we heard the explanation on that. I would move adoption of this.
Okay, question McCall, all in favor?
This is just for information. It's just for information, so I'm
Oh,
saying it to
that's right,
myself.
it is. It is.
I'm adopting the information for
For
information purposes.
correct.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Huh? Yeah, do you have a resolution? Yeah? Is a motion to go into closed? All in favor? Opposed? Opposed? Okay. By a vote 4-0 of those who count. That's what a Commodore will do.
Those are good peas.
This part-
No, they're still just finished flowering. The weekend before the long weekend. Oh, is that what it is?
Really? Oh, why didn't you put them all on one page? So when, we got a thumbs up? All right, we're now in open, and we'll have resolutions moved by Deputy Mayor Carlson, 7.1, Risk and Controls Update in 2024 Work Plan. Be resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee directed to close meeting discussions, documents, and presentations with respect to the Risk and Controls Update remain confidential as per Section 23, Local Public Confidences, 24, Advice from Officials, and 26, Testing Procedures, Tests, and Audits of the Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Thank you for the information. I'll call for, unless there's any questions, I'll call for the vote. Thank you for the information and the speed reading.
All those in favor? Opposed? Have resolution moved by Councilor Palladino, non-residential tax listing. 7.2, be resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee directed the closed meeting report attachment presentation discussion with respect to the non-residential tax listing remain confidential as per Section 16, harmful to business interests of a third party, and 17, harmful to personal privacy of the Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. Councilor Palladino.
Question.
Question McCall, all those in favor? Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councilor Croson, external letters, 7.3. Be it resolved that the Audit Standing Policy Committee directed the closed meeting report, discussions, documents, and presentations with respect to the external letter remain confidential as per Sections 23, Local Public Confidences, 24, Advice from Officials, and 26, Testing Procedure, Tests, and Audits of the Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. Councilor Croson.
It was the best of external letters. It was the worst of external letters. I'll call the question.
Unanimous. We're done? We are now adjourned. Well, that was fun. I do.